The message came while I was on my night shift, exhausted, running on coffee and adrenaline. It was from my uncle. Just a short text. "You need to see this, Octavia." Attached was a video. When I pressed play, I heard laughter. Familiar voices around a dinner table. My mother. My brother. My aunt. Then my brother's voice cut through the noise. "She acts like a saint just because she sends money. Please, she's a burden, not a blessing." Laughter followed. My mother added softly, "I never asked her to pay the mortgage. She just needs to feel useful." I felt my world tilt. My knees gave out right there in the hospital corridor. Because while they were mocking me, I was paying to keep their roof from collapsing. And that video, it wasn't a mistake. I'd been sending money home for 5 years, quietly, dutifully, every month. When Dad died, I promised I'd take care of Mom and my younger brother, Ethan. I worked double shifts, skipped vacations, and lived in a tiny apartment near the hospital so they could stay in our family home. Mom always said, "We're proud of you, Octavia. You saved us." Those words kept me going on the longest nights. Until that video. I watched it again, this time noticing the details. The clinking of glasses, the half-finished roast chicken, the birthday banner behind them. It wasn't just dinner. It was Mom's birthday. And I hadn't even been invited. I scrolled through my messages. No missed calls, no texts, nothing. Just silence. At 2 a.m. I walked into the break room, sat down, and cried quietly into my hands. My friend Nora, a fellow nurse, found me there. "Hey," she whispered. "What happened?" I handed her the phone. She watched in silence, then muttered, "They don't deserve you." But I couldn't just stop loving them. That's the hardest part about betrayal. It doesn't erase love, it poisons it. The next morning I transferred my usual payment, $1,300, to the mortgage account. Habit. Guilt. Oh. But this time I added a note. "Happy birthday, Mom. Hope it was special." No reply. I told myself maybe it was all a misunderstanding. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe Uncle sent it by mistake. But deep down I knew better. The next afternoon, as I left my shift, my phone buzzed again. Another message from Uncle Rob. "There's more you need to know." Attached was an audio file. My heart raced as I pressed play. This time the voices were clearer. My mother, my brother, and a woman I didn't recognize. "Ethan," Mom said, "when she sends the next payment, we'll move the account. She doesn't need to know the mortgage was cleared last year." I stopped breathing. "Cleared? She keeps sending money," Ethan said, laughing. "We might as well let her." I felt my hands shaking. I replayed it 3 times to be sure. They'd been lying to me, taking my money even after the house was paid off. When I confronted Uncle Rob, he admitted he'd overheard them talking weeks ago. "I recorded it because I couldn't stand hearing them talk about you like that," he said. "Your father would have been ashamed." I sat in my car for an hour, staring at the steering wheel. I wanted to scream, cry, run, but I couldn't even move. They'd used me. My own family. That night I didn't send money. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty. But guilt has a way of coming back when silence stretches. Because 3 days later my mother called. "Sweetheart, the mortgage company says we missed a payment. Can you check the transfer?" Closed my eyes. So that's how it was. Not one word of apology, just another lie. I said softly, "I'll check, Mom." But inside, something inside me snapped. I spent my next day off digging through online banking records. The mortgage company portal showed something shocking. The loan had been paid off 11 months ago. Every payment I'd sent since then, almost $14,000, had been redirected into a joint savings account under my mother's and brother's names. Felt sick. Every scrub shift, every holiday I worked, all for their savings. I printed the receipts, highlighting each transfer in red. The evidence glared back at me like open wounds. When I called Uncle Rob, he sighed. "I thought so. They opened that account the month after your dad died. Ethan said it was for emergencies." I laughed bitterly. Guess I was the emergency. Uncle Rob hesitated. You could report this, you know. But I couldn't. Not yet. That night I called home. Mom answered cheerfully. Hi, honey. Did you fix the transfer? I did, I said quietly. And I found out something interesting. The mortgage has been paid off for almost a year. Silence. Then a nervous laugh. Oh well. I must have gotten confused. Confused enough to open a savings account in your name and Ethan's? Yes. Her voice turned cold. You've been spying on us. I felt tears burning. You've been stealing from me. Don't raise your voice at me, she snapped. Everything we have is because of you. You should be grateful we used it wisely. That word grateful broke me. Hung up. That night I packed my things. I was done sending money. Done being the family wallet. But I wasn't done with justice. A week of silence passed. No calls, no messages until the bank called. Ms. Grant, the officer said, we had a woman claiming to be your mother attempt to access your personal savings. She used your social security number and a forged signature. Froze. He continued. We flagged it and notified the authorities. We just wanted you to be aware. My stomach turned. They hadn't just taken my money, they wanted more. I called Uncle Rob immediately. He sighed. They're desperate. Ethan's been bragging about buying a new car. Probably with your money. I felt anger rise, but this time it wasn't helpless rage. It was fuel. I gathered every bank statement, every recording, every text. Nora helped me organize them into a report. She said, you're not getting revenge. You're getting closure. I filed a fraud complaint. Quietly. Legally. 2 weeks later, the investigator called. We've confirmed misappropriation of funds. Your mother and brother will be summoned for questioning. The next day my phone rang, Mom again. Her voice was trembling this time. Octavia, please. We didn't mean to hurt you. We were just surviving. I took a deep breath. I was surviving too, Mom. But you turned my love into your paycheck. She started crying. You're really going to ruin your family over this? I whispered. You already did. And for the first time I didn't feel like a victim. Felt free. 2 days after the investigator's call, my phone buzzed again. It was Uncle Rob. They've been served, he said quietly. The investigator delivered the notices this morning. Ethan tried to argue, but your mom just cried. I didn't answer. I didn't even know how to feel anymore. There was no joy in justice, just exhaustion. Later that night, I came home from my shift to find an envelope taped to my door. My name was written in my mother's neat cursive handwriting. My heart pounded as I opened it. Inside was a letter. No greeting, no apology. Just words soaked in guilt. I know you hate me. I can't blame you. Everything fell apart after your father died. The debts, the pressure. Panic. I told myself you'd understand. That you'd always help. That's what good daughters do. But I see now I turned your kindness into a debt you never owed. Sorry. Not for being caught, but for making you believe love was a transaction. I sat down on the floor and cried, really cried. Because somewhere inside, the little girl in me still wanted to hear those words. But the story wasn't over. The next morning the investigator called again. We found something else, Ms. Grant. You might want to sit down. My chest tightened. What is it? The joint account your family used wasn't just for savings. We traced large transfers, about $40,000, to another account in your aunt's name. There's a pattern suggesting someone else was involved. My breath caught. My aunt? Yes. And here's the strange part. She's been paying off a business loan under Ethan's name. We believe they were using your money as collateral. For a moment I couldn't speak. My whole body went cold. All those years I'd been breaking myself to support them, and they'd used it to build something behind my back. The investigator continued. We'll likely recommend prosecution, but you'll have the option to pursue civil damages. I don't want their money, I said. I just want my peace back. After the call, I sat in my apartment surrounded by papers, letters, evidence, the entire history of a family I thought I knew. Nora came by with dinner and found me staring at the letter from Mom. She touched my shoulder gently. You know, maybe forgiveness isn't for them. Maybe it's for you. I smiled faintly through tears. I'm not there yet. But maybe someday. That night I deleted every automatic transfer, every shared account. For the first time in 5 years my salary was mine. And that felt like the first breath after drowning. It was raining when I heard the knock on my door. When I opened it, Ethan stood there, soaked, jittery, his smile forced. "Octavia," he said, voice trembling. "Can I come in?" I hesitated, then stepped aside. He looked around my small apartment, wringing his hands. "Nice place," he muttered. "Didn't realize nurses made so much." "I make enough," I said flatly. "Why are you here?" He swallowed hard. "Look, the investigators said you can drop the complaint. If you do, they'll go easy on Mom. Please, she's terrified." I stared at him. "You weren't terrified when you stole from me?" His face twitched. "It wasn't stealing. We needed it. You had everything together, we didn't." "You had me," I said quietly. "That should have been enough." He sat down, head in his hands. "We didn't mean to hurt you. I just thought, if I could start the business I could pay you back." I laughed bitterly. "By using my money as your startup fund? That's not ambition, Ethan. That's theft wrapped in family guilt." He looked up, eyes wet. "I know. Messed up. Please, don't let Mom go to jail." The old me, the people pleaser, the peacekeeper, would have said yes. But not anymore. "I'm not the one putting her there," I said softly. "She did that herself." He clenched his fists. "You think this makes you better? You're still alone." I met his glare calmly. Better alone than surrounded by liars. He left without another word. As the door closed, I felt a strange mix of sadness and freedom. I still loved them, but love didn't mean surrender anymore. Later that night, Uncle Rob called again. "I heard about Ethan's visit," he said. "You did the right thing. Your dad would be proud." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "I don't know. It doesn't feel like winning." "It will," he said gently. "When peace replaces pain, that's victory." The courtroom smelled like old paper and cold air. I sat in the front row, hands clasped, trying to stay calm as my mother and brother walked in. They wouldn't look at me. The judge read through the documents, the recordings, the receipts, every ugly truth now public record. When the verdict came, it was simple. Fraud and misappropriation of funds. Probation with restitution. They would have to repay me in full over the next 3 years. Ethan dropped his head into his hands. Mom just stared ahead, hollow. When it was over, I walked up quietly. "I didn't want this," I said. "I just wanted honesty." Mom's lips trembled. "I know. And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to earn your forgiveness." I nodded once. "Then start by forgiving yourself." Outside the courthouse, the winter sun was blinding. Nora was waiting, holding 2 coffees. "How does it feel?" she asked. I smiled softly. "Like breathing again." That night I went home, deleted every saved transfer account, and opened a new one labeled simply, "For me." It had been 6 months since the court hearing. 6 months since I'd stopped waking up with that ache in my chest. The one that came from betrayal, from realizing your love was a transaction to the people who should have protected you. I was learning what peace felt like. I'd started therapy, finally booked a vacation, and for the first time in years, used my paycheck on myself. A warm apartment. A coffee machine that didn't sputter like it hated me. New scrubs that actually fit. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Then one quiet Sunday morning I opened my mailbox and froze. Letter. Handwritten. The familiar looping cursive of my mother. For a long moment I just stood there staring at it. My first instinct was to toss it away. But curiosity has a way of whispering, even when pain screams louder. I took it upstairs, sat by the window, and unfolded it carefully. My dearest Octavia, I've started writing this letter 100 times, and each time I stopped because I didn't think I deserved your forgiveness. Maybe I still don't. I think about you every day. The little girl who used to bring me wildflowers from the backyard, who used to hug me so tight when your father worked late. I remember the last time we all laughed together, before the lies began. I was drowning, Octavia. Your father left debts I didn't understand. I let fear make me cruel. When you started sending money, I told myself I was protecting us. But really I was protecting my pride. You weren't a burden. You were the only reason we had a roof at all. I can't undo what I did. But I can try to become the mother you once believed I was. I had to stop reading for a minute because my vision blurred with tears. She'd never said words like that. Not to me, not to anyone. Read on. I've started volunteering at the women's shelter downtown. I'm helping other mothers learn how to budget and rebuild. It's not redemption, but it's something. Ethan moved to another city for work. He still won't talk about what happened, but I know time will change him too. I don't expect you to reply. I just needed you to know the door is open. Always. Mom. When I finished reading, I pressed the letter to my chest and closed my eyes. I wasn't sure if I was ready to forgive her, but I realized something important in that moment. Forgiveness isn't about timing. It's about truth. And this was the first time my mother had ever told me the truth. That evening I called Uncle Rob. He picked up immediately. Got your mail, huh? He said gently. You knew. She called me last week. Asked if it was too late to try. And what did you say? He smiled through the phone. I told her it's never too late to tell your child the truth. I sat quietly, tracing the edge of the letter. I don't know if I can ever go back. Then don't go back, he said softly. Go forward. On your terms. 2 weeks later, I decided to visit the old house. Not for them, for me. The house looked smaller than I remembered. The paint was faded, the garden overgrown, but it still smelled like the home I grew up in. When I knocked, I expected hesitation. Instead, the door opened almost immediately. Mom stood there, wearing an apron dusted with flour. Her hair was grayer now, her eyes softer. She looked at me like she was afraid I'd disappear. Hi, Mom, I said quietly. Her lips trembled. You came. She stepped aside and I walked in. The living room had changed. No expensive decor, no fake shine. Just simple, real, lived-in warmth. I sold most of the furniture, she said, voice trembling. Didn't need it. I wanted less to clean, and more peace. We sat at the kitchen table. The same table where I once ate in silence while they mocked me behind my back. Now she poured tea for both of us with shaking hands. I didn't just take your money, Octavia, she began, her voice breaking. After your father died, I lied to you about the debts. The mortgage was already paid. But your aunt convinced me we could use your help to rebuild. We used your money to buy a shop for Ethan. Failed. We panicked. I thought if we told you, you'd stop loving us. I swallowed hard. So you lied to keep me close. She nodded. And lost you anyway. Tears rolled down her cheeks. When I heard your voice in court, calm, strong, I realized you became everything I wanted to be, brave. I was the coward. We sat there for a long time, the quiet stretching between us like an apology neither of us could fully say. Finally I reached out and took her hand. We can't fix the past, Mom. But maybe we can start from here. Her shoulders shook as she cried silently, nodding. When I left that evening, she walked me to the porch, the same porch I'd once stood on as an unwanted daughter. Now, she said softly, you don't owe us any more, Octavia. You never did. I smiled through tears. I know. As I drove away, I realized forgiveness wasn't about erasing what happened. It was about choosing peace over pain. The letter came on a quiet Friday afternoon. The same kind of day everything once fell apart. It was from the bank, a certified check. The full restitution amount. $14,000. For a long time I just stared at it, unsure whether to laugh or cry. This money had once symbolized my worth to them. Now it meant closure. called Nora first. You finally got it, she asked. Yeah, I said softly. But I don't even want it anymore. Then do something with it, she said. Something that's yours. That night, I sat at my desk staring at the check. Then I picked up my pen and wrote 3 words on the back. For Dad's legacy. The next morning, I went to the local women's shelter where Mom volunteered. The same one she'd mentioned in her letter. When I arrived, she was there, helping paint one of the common rooms. She froze when she saw me. Octavia. I handed her the envelope. The restitution money. It's all there. I don't want it back. I want it to help women who trusted the wrong people, like I did. Her hands trembled as she took it. You're really giving this away. He nodded. Dad always said money should build people, not break them. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she hugged me, the kind of hug that said everything words couldn't. Later that day, Uncle Rob met me outside the shelter. You really did it, he said, smiling. You turned pain into purpose. I guess that's the only way it stops hurting, I said. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, sipping coffee, looking out at the lights of the city. The same world that once felt cruel now felt alive again. I opened my journal and wrote. They called me a worthless burden. But I paid their mortgage, their peace, and their silence. What they didn't realize is, I was never their burden. I was their foundation. And I've finally stopped building homes for people who can't see my worth. I closed the journal and smiled. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't triumph. It was balance, the kind my father would have been proud of. Weeks later, I received a card from Mom. Inside was a photo, her standing with the women from the shelter, holding a new sign above the entrance. The sign read, The Octavia Grant Foundation, for Women Rebuilding Lives. I stared at it, stunned, tears filling my eyes. I didn't need recognition, but that moment told me everything. Pain had turned into something bigger, legacy. That evening, as the sun set, I stepped out onto my small balcony, feeling the soft wind brush against my face. For the first time, the word family didn't sting. Just felt different. Because family isn't always who raises you. It's who rises with you. I whispered softly, Thank you, Dad. And for the first time in years, I truly believed it. I was finally free. Sometimes the deepest betrayal doesn't end your story. It begins your becoming. Octavia didn't get revenge. She found restoration. Have you ever realized your kindness was being used against you? What did you learn from it? Share your story in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful cinematic confessions like this one.